Hey guys, it's your girl Maya K, and we are back with the brand new Maya K show. I'm excited about the rebranding. I'm excited about pivoting as a full-time literary consultant, literary coach. Pivoting from business coaching, it wasn't really as hard as I thought it would be, because you have to remember, like, being a business coach is still very similar in that I'm helping women tell their stories and build successful writing careers, which essentially is a business. And I'm helping them monetize their expertise, especially if they are writing a book that might be a self-help or nonfiction book. So I'm excited to be in this space. I'm excited that God pivoted me back to the literary world. And by literary, I mean publishing, screenwriting, all things writing. So today's video, I definitely want to fuse two topics into one. And what I'm going to be talking about is like writing as a business versus a hobby, and then why I parted ways with my first literary agent. And I know that probably sounds like a lot for one video, but the reason why I feel like they go together and why it's important for me to share this is, one, because I think so many writers are super hype and excited to partner with a literary agent, and that's great. But I also think sometimes being so consumed with the business of writing can kind of make us lose the love for the hobby of writing, the enjoyment and the pleasure and the passion that we have to be writers. It is important, especially if you want to see yourself writing full time and you want to build a career. I mean, some of our favorite authors that we may admire, like for me, such as Kim Cash Tate, Nicole Deese, Kimberly Lawson Roby, and so many other writers, Sharon Draper. I mean, I could go on and on naming my favorite young adult as well as Christian writers. And of course, myself. But it's just, it can be really, really inspiring because we see them and their journeys and how they built a career, but it can also kind of catch you off guard once you start to dip your toe in that water. And so I'm just going to jump right into the story of how I met my agent. I'm not going to say who it is. I don't believe that that's necessary. When I leave, I always like to leave like a fresh scent of Christ behind. So I don't leave places like burning bridges or being like evil and nasty. I believe that God is a God of excellence. And as a Christian woman with a Christian business, it's important for me to maintain my integrity. So I don't like part ways with people in anger or anything. So I don't believe in releasing names. And I even went back and deleted the blog post that like shouted out when I first got the agent. And I just think it's important to this industry is very small. And so you don't want to go around saying names and you end up burning bridges with potential partnerships in the future. But I do think it's important to share the story because I think, again, as authors, we get so excited about partnering with the agent that we forget that we too we're the people that, bring our work to them, and we're the people who bring our work to publishers. So we're just as valuable, and being with an agent is like being married, and you have to consider all dynamics. So I had volunteered at the LA Writers Conference when I was living in Hollywood in 2019, and that's how I met my agent. And I was excited because I was a volunteer, I was able to sit at the table with all the agents, and that was a great way to schmooze and collect business cards and to even share my heart about like the industry. I wasn't working on a current project at that time, so I didn't really like pitch any project per se. I did pitch my book. I had a young adult novel that I had put out, and one of the agents there was actually a literary agent in Hollywood. So she helped people, sell their scripts. So I was like, so I gave her a copy of the book and I told her about it and I pitched it to her. But otherwise, I didn't have like a brand new manuscript that I was working on. So long and short, I ended up following up with that agent months later. I had this card and I said, hey, Maya, you have a MG manuscript that is sitting on your computer and you worked really hard. You got it edited professionally. You did all of that. And so let's see if they would be interested. And I submitted it. They were interested and they brought me on. And I felt like the first red flag for me was when we were on the phone. I always create like a list of questions, 8 to 10 questions that I feel every author should ask an agent. And I was asking these questions and literally like the call dropped, no lie, like 5 times. And I was just like, I think that was the first sign, and I just kind of ignored it. Like, I have never been on the phone with somebody and the call just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. It's like, yeah, if they're driving, if they're in a dead area, but this person was in their like office. So, I think the first thing I want to talk about, and as you like, I have my notes here because I believe in just like being clear. Like, the chemistry was never really there, but I ignored it. And by chemistry, I mean, like, the first question I asked was, I think actually it was the last question. And I said, okay, lastly, you know, why did you sign me? What did you enjoy about this book? Like, you know, what was it? And the response was, because I liked it. And I felt like it was a little bit like nonchalant. And I was like, okay, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would never be able to give that type of nonchalant response without coming off as like sarcastic or a little like disrespectful. But I think, again, I was so excited to get an agent and that someone signed me that, or was going to sign me, that I just kind of was like, okay, it's no big deal. But what I did do was my research. And I spoke with two of their clients. I'm sorry. I spoke with two of their clients. I emailed them and both of them responded via email. And one of the things that jumped out at me that I didn't really care for, which is what led me to believe that's why they gave the response that they gave, was that this person the agent doesn't read the books. Their partner does. Okay, basically it's a couple. And there's no way for me to really tell the story without like sharing, but it's a couple. And so the one client was saying like, yeah, this person, I actually like it. It's like a 2-for-1 deal because they're both working on your book. But another person was just like, you know, if his wife is reading all the material, how is he representing the book by shopping it and taking it out? And that's kind of true. And that's when I realized that's why his response was the way that it was, because he must not have read my book. Because all you can say is because I liked it. Like, that kind of was a red flag. So I think for me, from jump, the chemistry wasn't really there. You have to remember that you as a client, you have a yes to give also. Like, don't be afraid to value your work and to value your time. Like, your yes is just as important in this relationship. The other thing is, don't be so pressed to sign that you ignore like the little things that don't seem that major. You know what I mean? I feel like there was enough signs that I should have paid attention to. So the second thing is, I wasn't even that passionate about the project. If I'm honest, while I always wanted to write picture books, middle grade and young adult fiction, to be completely frank with you, I started to kind of lose a little bit of the love for the MG market over the years. So if this was a young adult project, like I'm working on a young adult project now, I am pumped about this project. And everything of mine is always going to be in the Christian romance vein, but still just like this young adult book I'm excited about. Like, I had written this middle grade book in 2013. I had gotten it professionally edited and I had considered self-publishing it, but I think it's really hard to self-publish children's and middle grade books. Primarily because you have to market to parents as well, versus young adult, where mostly adults read young adult books. So it's a little bit easier to self-publish. So for me, I really just kind of was like, I'm not even that passionate about this project. So when we were going through all the editorial changes, I legit was like excited about it. I'm improving the book. The first change I was asked to make was to pump it up to like 35K. He felt like it was a little short. It was like 32,500 or something. And I agreed. So I added, and it ended up getting, matter of fact, today, this book sits at like 41K. So I didn't just add 3,000 words. All of the changes that were requested, there were five rounds of editorial changes. By the time I got to like the final part where I was like, you know what, we could just part ways, it was like a 41,000 word book. So I felt like I was giving them everything they asked for, but I don't think that they felt that way. And so I had to admit to myself, Maya, you're not even passionate about this story for you to be fighting so hard for this. And maybe this just isn't maybe this isn't the book that God wants you to get exposure for. Like, it's cool that you worked hard on it. And I know as a writer, we don't like to waste. I'm a firm believer, like, I'm not wasting nothing. If I have to post this on my website and make it a free book or whatever, it's going to be like used. But we have to remember that some of our words are just going to be for us. And so I was honest with myself that the passion for MG had left. And if I'm really, really honest, I was amped to push my career forward, but not that project. And that's important. The third thing is I realized that I was in a new season and the season has shifted. I signed with my agent in the summer of 2019 and we parted ways literally, it was like April 2020. So the pandemic had already hit. And what happened was I was caring for my mom. I mean, my mom is still like mobile. She works full time, but she had breast surgery in February. And we were back living together. And so I was taking her to work every day, picking her up. I was working full time. I was an essential worker. Both her and I were essential. And I was kind of stressed. It was a lot going on. And so when I got that email in April that they were going to give me one more time, or, you know, if I didn't get it right, we were done, which was something that we had discussed. And I just said, you know what? Let's just part ways then. I'm not going to do this again. One, I felt like part of something that was in the email that I didn't like, it was accusatory. I was accused of just copying and pasting, and that's not what I did. Clearly, if I took a book from 32,000 words to 41,000 words, I didn't copy and paste. That's like clearly new content. So I don't like when people accuse me of something without doing their homework and like really knowing whether or not that's something that I did. I also just felt like everything that I was being asked for, I gave it. It got down to the point where my mom was even like, what do they want from you? Like, I've seen you work on this book. And I said, Mom, it's okay. I literally, while reading their email, I literally heard the Holy Spirit say, just walk away. Like, this is your out, take it. You know, at least you're not bound by anything. You know, it is what it is. So I parted ways. The thing is, though, God sent me into therapy. I literally started therapy like a week later. Here's what I learned. You cannot create powerfully while still broken, or while still having broken pieces of your life that need to be healed. That's not to say that writing doesn't heal us. That's not to say creating doesn't heal us. But if we're honest, like, we want to be powerful creators, not perfect, but powerful. And it's really hard to be powerful while you're hurting or you're dealing with stuff. So I took time off and I literally focused the next several months on my healing. And when I tell you, when I went to go write Storms of Love in 2021, I was able to finish this adult romance novel for the Christian market in like 6 weeks. And that, to me, I was so passionate. I could feel it while I was writing. And even now, as agents are reading this manuscript, I'm so excited. Even when I get a rejection, I've gotten a rejection on the full, and I've gotten rejections on the query level where they don't even request more material. But I'm passionate about this book. And let me just say this, I've already created a cover, because I'm not going to not publish it just because, you know, I may not get an agent. Now, I just got another request last week, and I'm just praying that, you know, the 2 agents reading it, that they see something. I queried more people today at the recording of this video. And so I'm passionate about this project, though. I could feel the passion in it. And actually, one of the agents that I queried today, I love what she says on her website. She said, all you need is one yes. And it's so crazy, because when I got a couple of rejections over the last month, I remember just hearing God say, all you need is one yes. You don't need every agent to say yes. And that is so true. And so this leads me to just sharing with you, like, it is so important to see your writing as a business. If you're serious about building a career as a writer, writing is a business and you have to take it seriously. But don't ever allow the business to overshadow the hobby. You are writing because you love it. You are creating characters because you love it. Don't let the business part drown out your passion. Don't let the passion to see yourself living in, you know, the prosperity of your career, meaning making money as a writer. Don't allow that to take away the passion. Be confident in the fact that if God gave you a gift to write and to string words together and to create characters and create beautiful storylines that people love, then you will find your footing in your path. You will get to the place where you are able to write, and it will bring you the success that you want. But if you lose the love for it, if you lose the passion for it, then it's like almost pointless. You want to make sure your passion is there and that you're able to feel that. Now, that's not to say that you're going to be passionate every single day. Like, even with as much as I love Storms of Love, my Christian romance novel that I'm looking for a home now, as much as I love that story, there are days where I don't feel like submitting to an agent. So it doesn't mean that you're going to be on like high on 100% all the time, but there should be a level of passion that is there with your project and with your career. And so I was wise enough to take a step back. I think sometimes writers or creatives, period, because, I'm in Hollywood as well. I think sometimes as creatives, we're scared to take a step back because we think like we're missing out on something or we're missing out on opportunities. Let me just say this. I didn't query agents all 2020 and all 2021. I didn't start querying again until December 2021, which ironically is the holidays. So I paused and picked back up in January. Right? So if for 2 years I didn't query agents, I didn't miss anything. In fact, there were some new agents on the scene. I didn't know there was as many Christian agents out there, agents who accept Christian work. So nothing, I didn't miss a beat, if you ask me. And the publishing landscape is always changing. And so because it's always changing, then that's another thing to consider when you are shopping for an agent. That means that you could take a break for 6 months and you look up and there'll be 20 new agents for you to query. Now, that's usually pretty unlikely because not every agent, I'm telling you now, if you have 20 agents that you could query, your work, that means they all must represent picture books or middle grade or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, if you do your homework and you narrow it down, there will probably be 15 to 20 agents that your work could fit for. But just be mindful of that. I've heard of writers saying, oh, I got a list of 50 agents. And I'm like, whoa, did you do your homework? Because if you have a list of 50 agents, don't get it twisted. There are hundreds of agents out there, but you got to make sure you do your homework. Even if I find 25 agents that want my work, I don't want to work with all 25 of them. There's a connection I have. The 2 that are reading my book, I was able to put in the first sentence of my query why I submitted to them. And I was excited about it. You know what I mean? And even the ones who rejected my query, I still had a personal connection for why. So just consider that. Maybe I'll do a video on that too. But I just want you guys to consider that your writing career, you do have to see it as a business, but don't lose the love for it as a hobby. Parting ways from an agent is not the end of the world. I know people who worked with their agents and they were doing well and they submitted the book to publishers, but they just couldn't get a deal. And then they tried another book. It didn't work. So they finally said, you know what? It's time for us to part ways. There are a myriad of reasons why people part ways with their agents. But I wanted to just share with you that you have to be able to accept that if it's you as well. So I feel like in this situation, it was 50-50. I didn't like that all of my feedback was coming from his wife. I felt like, you're my agent. I get it. It's great to have the 2-for-1 deal. It's great if she's the second person reading it just to give a second set of eyes and some feedback, but you're my agent, so you should be reading it. What are you going to do when you submit it to publishers and they call you, not her, and they're asking you questions? So, but some of it was me as well. While I did make the changes, while I did everything they asked me to do, and I thought the changes were good, I still wasn't passionate about it. And I think maybe that could be felt in my read, in the words. You can feel people's energy in their writing. I hope that this episode blessed you. I'm excited to jump back into literary consulting and coaching, and I think creating content like this will really help. I'll be doing videos on the process of submitting, how to tighten up your query letter. Most of my videos will be short. the podcast, please subscribe to the Maya K Show. I'm so excited. We came back on April 22nd. There will be new episodes every Friday, and they will have interviews. I'm excited to start having interviews with some of our favorite authors in different genres. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't read like fantasy, dystopian, sci-fi, horror. I don't read anything demonic. I don't read anything like witches and warlock. I don't read stuff like that. So yeah, I'm probably going to mainly have a young adult, Christian, of course, like coming of age. I don't read LGBTQIA material. So yeah, just like my business is geared towards a certain market, my channel and my podcast are going to be the same way. Just because, you know, that's just me. We all have the right to enjoy what we read, and to support what we want to read, and also to have that type of content that speaks to the market that we enjoy. But I just wanted to put that out there now, since this is the first video, that it probably will be a little bit more limited because I don't read everything. I don't even read erotica, so it doesn't matter who the couple is. I'm just really big on, you know, my faith. My faith comes first for me. And so just like I don't listen to like sexual music, I don't read sexual books. And so a lot of it will be, again, like young adult, coming of age, very much like anybody I interview, Christian authors, very much just clean content. Yeah. So, but I am so happy to be back. Let me know how you felt about this. Did this help you? Drop your comments below. Did this help you? Did you realize, like, wow, like people part ways from their agents? I didn't know that. People actually can, if you sign a contract, can you walk away? Well, yeah. So I did sign a contract, but in it said like I had to make sure that it was to their standards, and if it wasn't, that we had the right to part ways, and you know, whatever. So just make sure you read through it. But 9 times out of 10, no agent is going to try to hold you hostage, especially if they haven't even started shopping your book yet. So it's not like they're losing money. Now, that's not to say their time isn't valuable, but most agents know like taking on a client is like you're investing time. Yes, you're investing time into the editorial changes. You're investing time into the whole thing. But it's both of us investing time. So one thing I am grateful for, though, is that someone took a chance on me. I think it showed me like, Maya, you have something. You have something great. Don't give up. Keep going. Keep writing. Keep writing. Don't stop writing. But I'm glad I took the time off and the time away. I will see you guys next time here on the Maya K Show. Make sure you let me know too. You can definitely drop in the comments what type of videos you would love to see. I already made a list of like 30 topics that I'm going to be touching on, but I want to hear from you. Like, what are some things you would love to know with someone who is in the publishing industry, who has had, you know, an independent deal with a traditional distribution through Ingram, and who has also had an ebook deal, and then who's done self-publishing. So I've kind of done it all. And so thank you again. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the videos, comment, and share with your friends.